Hello, everyone. This is Eddie Reyes with Jurex Bar Prep, and I am here with
Neil Kantor. Hi, guys.
you guys. Today, we're going to do something. By the way, today the bar results come out, so if you pass, congratulations.
Absolutely.
And if you didn't pass, there's hope. Okay, so, but anyway, we're wishing everyone all the best, regardless.
Yeah.
In this video, we're going to do something a little, for me, it's very strange. I don't know. I'm still not sure how to feel about it. I guess I want to say excited, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I wish I could go back in time, and I don't know. It's just we're going back in time, you guys, to right, and we're going back to when I was preparing for the bar exam, and I'm gonna show you an actual essay that I wrote and that I submitted to my bar grader at the time. You're gonna see. You're gonna see. Look, I'm stuttering. I'm getting excited, and you're gonna see his comments. And the reason why it's strange is because now, like as a bar prep company, like we have tools, we have statements, we have editing tools, and we name them. And you guys are gonna see. Neil's gonna be the one that's gonna grade my essay. I will give a bill.
Okay.
Yeah. Neil's he's gonna just totally he's just
beat you up.
Yeah.
Or say it's great, whichever way it goes. We'll see.
Yeah, so let's see now. So I'm gonna share my screen. Give me a second. If I pause or whatever, it's because I might have confidential information. Okay, great. So there seems to be no confidential information here. Okay. So let's go to the call of the question. So this was an essay from February 2004, Crim Law. And just to give you guys, we're just going to focus on one issue. And we are going to assume that the issue we're going to discuss is the major issue. And let me tell you what it is. It's based on Miranda, the right to remain silent. And usually you have a fact pattern where there's a police officer who doesn't read the Miranda rights. He'll just arrest someone. That's very common, right, in the California bar exam world. And then he'll ask a question before giving the Miranda rights, and then the person will respond, right? And so let's look at what I wrote. So here, really briefly, because we just want to focus on this issue. It says here that, the officer, he saw Dave. We already know Dave is a defendant because the first letter is D. He had a briefcase and currency and all this. And so the officer said to Dave, "I know you're the one who robbed the bank. Where's the shotgun?" And then Dave then pointed to a nearby trash container in which he had concealed the shotgun, saying, "I knew all along I'd be caught." And what's going to happen next? We already know that Dave's going to go for a motion to exclude the statement. We already know. You guys are very familiar with this structure, or you should be. Now, let's go to my actual answer. Look at Neil. He's like, "I'm going to get this guy." Neil.
Time to repay.
All right. So let's go. So here's the background, you guys. So D's exclusion of the statement to P, the police officer, Miranda rights. We're not going to get into the Miranda rights. Let me move this to the right. Okay, and of course, custody. And the reason why this is highlighted in interrogation is because we're going to focus on that, on that issue.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to give any names or whatever. I did make some modifications here, so I don't want anyone to guess who the bar grader was. That's not even an issue, right? But he did make some comments, and we are going to also go into the bar grader's comments. And we're just going to be straightforward here. We're not going to try to line the situation. We're just going to be honest with this. Okay, so Neil, you're going to be the bar grader. So just to save time, because, right, people are busy, you're busy, right? So the issue here is, of course, interrogation. This is the rule statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so Neil, anything you want to say up to this point? Because I've been just talking.
No, I mean, everything you said makes a lot of sense. I just can't wait to get into this and start reading it and hopefully point out your mistakes.
Okay.
Or your brilliant writing. I don't know yet. We'll see.
We'll see.
But yeah, so.
Okay, so issues there. Rule statement is here.
Issues there, yeah.
Right,
Yeah, you got the rule statement, issues, interrogation.
Analysis.
You state defined, and you go through the analysis. And the analysis, that's, if you don't know already, that's where all the points are, or most of the points.
Okay, first.
But you also have to have a decent rule statement, because if you have a bad rule statement, that'll probably lead to a pretty bad analysis. So the analysis is really where all the points are. What we teach at Jurax is a structured way of writing. And if you follow the structure, pretty hard to make a mistake, pretty hard to write in what we call the narrative form, where you don't get any points. You're just repeating either the facts. You're not pushing the agenda of your argument forward. You don't want to be doing that. You want to push whatever you do, every sentence you write, you want to be pushing the argument forward. And we'll show you how to do that.
Let me say something really quick, Neil. And if you guys watching, we're gonna highlight. We're gonna go line by line here. If you guys think it's good, just make a mental note. If you think it's bad, why is it bad? So Neil, I guess I'm on the hot seat.
They're in the hot seat.
Is this good or bad?
Okay, so let's see what you said here. Here, there was communication by P to D that was likely to elicit a response. Okay, so what did you just do here? Elicit a response. If you look up at the rule, elicit a response. What is that? Well, that's an element of the rule. So what you want to do is you want to carry the one of the elements, each element at a time, which we can talk about later, from the rule statement down into your analysis. So that's good. You're also using the word because transforms or helps to transform a regular old sentence that could be a narrative into a sentence that pushes the agenda forward, because you're being forced to explain yourself. You're just not making a statement of the law, but you're saying why. You have to explain why. If you don't do that, you don't get points. So because P asked D a question and P had not told D that he had the right to remain silent.
Okay.
Not really the best answer.
Okay, hold on. Let me say something about, just let me backtrack a little bit. Okay, so I guess the person in the past, I give myself a pat in the back because I used the element, elicited a response. But before that, you guys, if you look at the rule statement, what I did was I guess back then subconsciously I carved out the rule. What that means is that I looked at the rule statement and I said, out of all these words here, which is the key element that I'm going to discuss? And so I intended to discuss elicited response. So that's going to be the elements that, like Neil was saying, that I'm going to carry forward here. Okay, now, Neil, I guess let me highlight it so that people can keep track. We're going to go for this sentence. Okay, great. So go for it.
All right. Okay, so you're saying here, although D's response did not directly address P's question, it can be inferred that D did not know he had a right to say anything at all. Well, first of all, let's stop there. I'm not really sure why you're bringing that up. That's really more Miranda. We're not really discussing Miranda here. We're discussing eliciting a response. I understand that they sort of meld together, but that's a mistake.
Okay, walk me through that. Walk me through. How do you know it's Miranda?
Well, because you're saying here a right to remain. He didn't know he had a right to remain silent. That's an element straight out of Miranda. That's actually one of the primary Miranda. And we're not in Miranda. We're in interrogation world right now.
Oh my
discussing
God.
only elements of interrogation,
what
not
did
Miranda.
I do?
So that's, I don't know, Eddie.
What did I do?
Come a long way. I'm proud of you.
What did I do?
So anyway, that's an example of something that's going to really honestly confuse the grader, and also it's not pushing your agenda forward. It's not pushing your argument forward because it's not addressing anything to do with interrogation. It's actually you're switching from interrogation to Miranda, and then I assume as we go forward back to interrogation. It's too confusing, and the grader's going to get lost. He's not going
Right.
to know what you're talking about.
Okay,
He's going to
another,
get frustrated, and you'll get a 55.
and I think I actually did. I think I would give this a 55 so far. Okay, but anyway,
Right, right.
another thing, guys. This word although, I call that in jurex terminology. I call that signal word, right? Because it's
Counter-argument.
yeah. It signifies that there's going to be a counter argument. So I will be very careful of where I use the counter argument. So already there, this is just by use of that word that is misused. This is already collapsing. I can already tell.
Right. So what you've done so far, just from the word here, you've done elicit a response, which is terrific for interrogation.
Yeah.
Use the word because, and then you jump to Miranda, and then you haven't positioned your point, what you're trying to prove, and then all of a sudden you're in a counter argument without even making a good initial argument of the element of interrogation. So the whole thing is a mishmash. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
to be honest.
Thank you for your
No
honesty. Look
offense.
at that. Neo
I'm trying to be honest.
he's loving this. Neo is
Yeah.
loving this. I can
Yeah.
tell.
I love it. It's
Okay.
payback time.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
let's.
it's everything you taught me, and it works. So
Yeah.
But
Okay. Let's
but it
go on
works.
to the
It
next
really
line.
does work.
What's wrong with
Okay.
that line?
Well, let's see here. Thus, D statement was made during an interrogation by plaintiff or by P. Okay, so thus is a word that describes conclusion. So you're already concluding. I don't know exactly what you're concluding because it's a mishmash. It's not making a lot of sense. It's just it's conclusionary because you're not saying anything other than the statement was made during an interrogation. Says who? Why? Tell me why. I don't know why. Why are you saying that?
Right. Okay. So here, notice that the word interrogation is used, but you guys check this out. Look at this. Can you guys see what's wrong with this? With the word interrogation? Can you guys see? Okay, so I'm discussing the element elicited a response. So then all of a sudden I go from not
The element to the rule.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it. It doesn't make sense. None of it does.
So I should have had a conclusion to the element. Thus,
Correct.
Right, there is. Right, the officer did make.
That you should have said.
Yeah.
Thus, there is an a likely intent to elicit a response, which would have been correct. You're concluding. You're arguing an element, and then you're concluding on the entire rule of interrogation. Why would you do that? You have to include on the element in and of itself. You're talking about the forest and then the trees, and then you're going back to the forest
Right.
again. So it's confusing.
Okay, so that's very confusing. So look, you guys, all this, we're contextualizing this into actual terms. Okay, so this was not, when it's green, it's not good. When it's yellow, it's okay. Okay, now what about this?
Right. Okay, well, however, that is counter-argument language. So you're counter-arguing after a conclusion, which you can do. It's confusing a little bit, but it can be done in the right situation. But then you say, however, the statement was spontaneous and unsolicited. Okay, so that's let's looking up top here. That is an element of interrogation. So what you're doing is you're using a counter-argument. But you're not staying within the eliciting a response.
Oh.
You're using another element to counter argue the first element, which doesn't make sense. You got to stick in what I call stay in the rails. Don't go off the rails. If you're a train, don't tangent into something else. Stay focused on the element at all time, then go on to the second element. Don't use an element to counter another element. It's too confusing. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so here, you guys, I'm overlapping issues already. So already here, I'm already off. I'm way off. I'm like left.
Way off.
And notice here how I have a counter argument. Notice how this is the second counter argument. Look. Signal word. A lot of the bar graders, they're going to go, hey, like look at those signal words. They're going to focus on that many times. It helps them to get through your contents. So if I do two counter arguments, I'm doing ping pong, ping pong. It's not looking good. Okay, so let's continue. So let's see now. Okay, Neil.
All right, so let's see here. In replying to P's question, D pointed to the trash container and only afterward and without being asked stated that he knew he would get caught. Okay, you're regurgitating the facts. You're not pushing forward your argument. The graders have read this 100 times. They know what the facts are. They're not interested in you repeating the facts unless you're using it to push forward an idea. So that's where you have to interject the facts, which is what you want to do, but with the rule, and by rule I mean individual elements of that rule. Here you're not interjecting any element.
So this is
you're just repeating the facts. You're just wasting time.
Right. So I'm doing what's called narrative writing. I'm gonna get some popcorn.
Narrative writing.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy the story, the narrative. So that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It adds nothing to the argument. It's like a lawyer getting up in court and just rambling on. But if it doesn't prove anything, what's the point?
Right. Okay, Neil. This last sentence.
Yeah. So thus conclusion. Thus, D's statement does not violate Miranda rule. Where do we come up with that? We're talking about interrogation. We're only trying to prove yes or no. Was the defendant being interrogated to elicit the response? Period. Nothing to do with Miranda. That's a whole different subject or issue, I should say, a whole different issue. So you're mixing an issue. Now you're doing something that's really interesting. You're mixing an entire issue in your conclusion that you never even mentioned in the prior 15 lines above it.
Right. I don't have the proper conclusion. You guys, when you do IRAC, sometimes it's not IRAC. Sometimes it's RACCC. Let me give you an example. A proper conclusion would have been, thus the officer's statement or question was likely to elicit an incriminating response. I think that's the rule. So you make a conclusion to the elements, and then after that you make a conclusion to the issue. Thus, there was an interrogation. And then after that, you conclude on the overall issue, right, whether the Miranda rights were violated.
Right. You don't want to take white socks and red socks and put them in the washing machine and they all come out pink, because that's what you did here. You added a green one, which was Miranda rules, so they really changed color. You want to stick to the element and focus on the element and use the facts, use the element of the rule to make your argument either way, and then move on to the next element or the next issue, which could be Miranda rights or whatever it is, but not bleeding them all together. It's too confusing. The grader doesn't know what you're talking about.
Awful. I would have given this probably between a 55 and a 50. Okay, now let me reflect. I guess this will be me reflect on the bar graders. Statements. It says this is not the most reasonable inference. Okay, so now right back then I was like, okay, great, but how do I fix it? Let me keep going. It says, I think he replied directly. Right, the suspect, the defendant, the defendant replied directly to the interrogation such that it was part of it. There was nothing spontaneous about what he said. It was a direct response to the police question. So that was his comment. But if you look at his comment and the way that Neil broke it down, right, I wasn't able to develop my lawyer-like writing with a statement like that. In other words, he's saying I went off the deep end. I went off the rails. A better term for that would have been I didn't carry forward the element. I didn't. I overlapped the issues.
Stick handle.
For Neil be stick handle. I overlapped the issues. Right. So that's what we want to do at Jurax. We want to give you guys Like we want to pinpoint the errors because we have names. We see these all the time. We already named them. I can look at a question now right off the bat. Look, here's what you're doing wrong. Boom, boom, boom. So that's what we offer. We want to make this video because we are we are ready to tutor. There is limited space, and this takes time, you guys. And that's why the capacity, the seats here are very, very limited. So we hope you passed, but if you didn't, then we're at your service. And if you're preparing for the exam for the first time, we're here as well. Neil, any departing statements?
No, I just think that if you follow the method, if you're clear, if you make it simple but lawyer-like, you'll understand what is necessary to write a passing essay answer.
Right. Okay, you guys. So
stick to it.
Thank you so much, Neil. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was of value. Wishing everyone all the best. Until soon.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, guys.